Well, you've probably noticed that the colder it is outside, the louder the snow crunches under your feet. It happens because when the snow compresses, teeny ice grains rub against each other. The lower the temperature, the greater the friction between the ice grains, and the louder the crunching sound is. Hey, Snow, can you hold it down over there? Thanks. Adult cats only meow to communicate with us humans. Kittens can meow at their moms, but grown cats don't interact with each other this way. Scientists have even found that these animals are great manipulators when it comes to cat-human dialogue. Cats can change the pitch of their meows so that they sound more like crying babies. They've long figured out that this way, they get more food and attention. A reindeer's eyes change color from gold in the summer to baby blue in the winter. Such a color shift improves the animal's vision because it influences the way the light gets reflected through the retina. Escalator brushes weren't designed to clean our shoes. They were invented for much more important safety reasons. You see, escalators tend to break when people stand too close to their edges. Between the side of an escalator and the wall, there's a gap. It's almost unnoticeable, but if something, like a piece of clothing, gets inside, it may get stuck in the maze of motors and gears. Then the escalator could not only break down, but also damage the foreign object. Escalator brushes prevent such accidents by scaring you away from nearing the gap. As soon as you feel the bristles on your leg, you instinctively move away. Just one bolt of lightning will provide enough energy for a 2-slice toaster to work for 84,000 minutes. It's also enough time to cook almost 100,000 slices of toast. Really? Getting goosebumps when you're frightened goes back to the times when you could only fend off a predator if you look scarier than your opponent. When you get goosebumps, all the tiny hairs on your body stand up, supposedly making you bigger and more intimidating. Yeah, that works for me. Roosters can be exceptionally loud, and the question is, how do they not go deaf if this thundering noise is coming right out of their beaks? Simple. They have a natural mechanism that works as built-in earplugs. Once a rooster opens its beak and gets ready to crow, its auditory canals close off, and no sound can come in. That's not quite fair, is it? Airlines have minimized the space allotted to our gluteus maximus from a comfy 34 inches per seat to a tight 29. Candy's confusing. Some familiar favorites have shrunk over the decades. There's a word for when the amount you buy shrinks, but the price remains the same – shrinkflation. But what do you call it when just the price shrinks? A bargain. Not only have library fines been shrinking, some libraries have ditched them altogether. Ironically, this made their losses shrink too. People return more books when they aren't penalized. As you age, it's harder to lose weight everywhere, except the brain. After age 40, we lose about 5% of our brain weight a decade. We shrink each day that we spend walking or sitting. The pads between our vertebrae get compressed by the weight of all the spine above them, but these pads puff up again while we sleep until we hit 40, when those discs stop plumping up like they used to. On average, men will lose about an inch and women will lose 2 inches. Not the gum we chew with our teeth, but the gums holding them together. As we age, our gums recede, giving the impression that our teeth are getting longer. Hence the expression "long in the tooth." A Microsoft study found that while people had an average attention span of 12 seconds in the year 2000, it's now dropped to 8 seconds. That's less than a goldfish. They will focus for 9 seconds. The ads we watch are designed to shrink. Once shot, commercials get cut into a variety of shorter lengths. After you've seen the 1-minute version, expect a 45-second, 30-second, and a 15-second version to follow. 15 seconds is plenty, because the time we need to pick up media cues has also shrunk. That's why the action in old movies seems so slow. Throughout the 1900s, product jingles for brands like Coke and Pepsi were written as songs, complete with verses and bridges. Today, the 30-second version of a commercial is the most common shown. It's simply not enough time for the whole song, but you can still fit in "We are farmers, da-da-da-da-dum-dum-dum." Around 360 million years ago, There was so much oxygen in the air that the Earth was home to giant insects. Some of them could spread their wings up to 28 inches in length. That's a big bug. The word OK stands for all correct. Yup, 200 years ago, it was fashionable to go around and misspell things for fun. When a newspaper editor wrote all correct with an O and a K, somebody picked it up. Our hands and toes wrinkle when we spend time in the water in order to improve our grip when trying to get wet or submerged objects. Before trees appeared on Earth, the land was overtaken with giant mushrooms that could reach 24 feet in height. That's as tall as a giraffe. Before lobsters became a delicacy that only rich people could afford, they were considered a low-quality food that was only served to the poor a few hundred years ago. Even fishermen used lobsters to bait fish and fertilize their crops. Hey, camels have 3 eyelids to protect their eyes from sand. 2 of the eyelids have eyelashes, and the third one is a thin membrane that acts as a wiper that cleans dirt from the eyes. Unlike regular eyelids, the membrane layer closes horizontally. We blink almost 30,000 times per day. If we were to count how long our eyes remain closed, it would equal a half an hour. The infinity sign is actually called a lemniscate, and no matter how big a number you think of, it's always closer to 0 than infinity. The rarest blood type isn't AB negative, but something called Rh null blood. In the last 50 years, only 43 people were found to have it. Because it's so difficult to find, it's considered the golden blood, and it's worth as much as the precious metal. You know, rain has no scent, but that lovely smell that we sniff when it rains comes from bacteria that live in the soil. Rain also gets the smell from plant oils and minerals released from the soil. A man named Steve Feltham holds the Guinness World Record for the longest time spent looking for the Loch Ness Monster. He camped at Loch Ness for over 28 years. I hear that when he was tired, you could see him dragging. Old mattresses are notably heavier than the new ones because of the stuff they collect during their lifetime. This debris is flaked off skin, dust mites, human and animal hair, sand, soil, pollen, and many more things you probably don't want to hear about. Now, seahorses pair up for life and often travel around together holding each other's tails. By the way, it's the male that carries the couple's eggs. You know about albinism, but what about its opposite, melanism? Melanistic animals have too much dark pigment in their skin, feathers, or hair, and unlike their light-colored counterparts, they look almost black. The word facetious has 5 vowels in alphabetical order. If you consider Y a vowel, then the word facetiously has all 6. And in case you're wondering, almost is the longest English word with all its letters in alphabetical order. The cougar is a Guinness record holder because it has more names than any other animal. It's known as the panther, mountain lion, puma, and 40 other English, 25 native North American, and 18 native South American names. Here, kitty! Niagara Falls has moved back about 7 miles in the past 12,000 years due to erosion at the base. Luckily, the rate of this process has reduced over the past few decades, and the waterfall might eventually stop moving and stay where it is now. The first watermelons were extremely bitter or simply bland. They were originally cultivated in Africa just for their water content. If you recycle a single glass jar, you'll have enough energy to keep your TV running for 4 hours. Astronauts claim that space smells like a searing steak or barbecue. Exactly this odor hangs around after someone finishes a spacewalk. Other astronauts say space smells like heated metal. Storm clouds may seem to turn dark, but it's just an illusion. Thin clouds on a sunny day let the light through and scatter all the colors of the light spectrum. This makes us perceive the clouds as white, but the thicker clouds are, and the more water they contain, the less light they transmit. Thus, they look darker. Leaves don't really change colors, they just lose their green pigment. The green usually masks the other colors, red, orange, and yellow, so without it, those warmer hues become visible. And leaves lose this green pigment, chlorophyll, in the fall because there's less sunlight the chlorophyll can turn into food. Your own body makes bug bites swell and itch. When a mosquito breaks your skin, your immune system perceives the insect's saliva as a foreign substance and starts making histamine. That stuff sends more blood to the bite, which causes the area to swell. Histamine also sends a signal to the nearby nerves, making you itch. Zebras probably have their stripes as protection from bug bites. The stripes seem to dazzle the insects, and they can't make a controlled landing. They either come in too fast and try to avoid the collision at the last moment, or they bump into the zebra and bounce off. Most salt in oceans and seas comes from land. Rainwater, which is a bit acidic, flows over rocks and erodes them. The water collects the dissolved salt and other minerals, but is still drinkable at this point. Once it gets to the ocean, some minerals get removed from the water, but not the salt. Additional saltiness comes from underwater volcanic activity and hydrothermal vents. Now, rain makes you drowsy because the sky is overcast, and without sunlight, your body produces melatonin, the very hormone that makes you sleepy at night. The rhythmic rain sound is comforting and creates so-called pink noise, which decreases your brain activity and improves your sleep quality. The ocean isn't blue, per se, it just seems like it. Its trademark bluish hue appears because the water absorbs all colors from the warmer part of the light spectrum – yellow, orange, and red. This works like a filter that leaves behind the blue-green color we can see. Now, your dog licks you because it makes them feel good. It releases endorphins in the animal's body, making your pooch feel safe, comfortable, and happy. It also relieves most of the stress your pet feels. Plus, licking is one of the ways your doggy can show you affection. Now, cats regularly lick themselves to prevent skin oils from gathering on their fur, but it also makes their coats less waterproof than, let's say, a dog's. That's why when cats get wet, their fur becomes very heavy, and they don't like it one bit. Your stomach? It growls when you're hungry, because your digestive muscles are contracting to sort of warm up in preparation for the coming meal. They continue to contract even after you eat. You just can't hear it anymore because the food in your stomach is muffling the sound. Now, no one knows for sure why we call it Black Friday. Probably because stores now open in the middle of the night. But originally, it was likely used to describe all the heavy traffic depending on this day. A hippo skin gives off a red oil that protects the animal from sunburn. Yes, you could say hippos use sunblock. Only their all-natural SPF doubles as an antibiotic cream too. Now, moose have such sensitive antlers that they can feel a fly landing on them. There are real flying dragons in the rainforests of Southeast Asia. But if you're expecting a massive fire-breathing reptile soaring over the poor townspeople, tough luck. It's a tiny little lizard about the size of your hand, and it doesn't really fly, it glides over a short distance. Or falling with style. You might know of poisonous plants and venomous reptiles and arachnids, but there are poisonous birds too. The toxins in their bodies, feathers, and skin make it dangerous for predators to eat them. Starfish can cover their prey with their stomachs and eat it outside the body. Then they simply bring their stomachs back inside. Well, that's handy. Their relatives, sea cucumbers, can do the same party trick, except they leave part of their guts behind to scare their attacker. It's okay, the missing parts quickly grow back. Crows and ravens are the smartest and sneakiest birds on Earth. A raven will follow one another long enough to find out where the other guy is hiding his food. Then the sneaky stalker takes it for himself. But the brainiest of them all is the New Caledonian crow. It makes complex tools like hooks and spears to get insects out from their hidey holes in trees and branches. A koala's fingerprints are almost identical to human ones. Dolphins have highly developed communication. They call each other by name. That is, each dolphin responds to a specific sound. Mostly they say, "Stop calling me Flipper." A bird's feathers weigh more than its skeleton. So there. The most fearless beast on Earth that really doesn't care is the honey badger. They have virtually no enemies because they're not afraid of anyone. One honey badger can take on a whole pack of lions and come out unscathed. These hardcore honey lovers are also resistant to snake venom. So yeah, there's that. Their cousin, the European badger, builds extensive underground burrows called sets. They have tunnels and room-like offshoots for everybody. Foxes and rabbits are welcome to share the home as long as they abide by the strict hygiene rules. The praying mantis has an ear between its legs. The insect uses it as a sonar, kind of like bats. Sea turtles are constantly crying. They're not sad or anything. The weeping is only because they excrete excess salts from the body through tears. The black swift is a mysterious bird that lives, eats, and even sleeps in the sky. They don't land for months at a time, which is why so little is known about them. The distance they fly over a lifespan is like going to the moon 14 times. Fish can fly too. Thanks to their wing-like fins, flying fish can soar a distance of about 600 feet, almost as long as 2 football fields. They need flight to escape from predators. A googol is a number followed by 100 zeros. I dare you to write that down counting the zeros one by one. A computer term, "there's a bug in the system," emerged in 1946 when an actual moth got trapped inside a relay calculator at Harvard. Squirrels accidentally plant millions of trees every year because they forget where they bury their acorn. Oh, that's nuts. A rainbow that happens at night is called a, wait for it, moonbow. They're mostly white and very rare. The first microwave was invented by Percy Spencer in 1945. The engineer received only $2 for his discovery. That's equivalent to $30 today. A giraffe's neck can reach up to 6 feet in length, yet it contains the same number of bones as the human neck. In 2009, a team of scientists went on an expedition to Loch Ness Lake to locate the famous monster. To their surprise, they found more than 100,000 golf balls instead. Tim Storms holds the Guinness World Record for the deepest voice. He reached notes that were so low only elephants could hear. How many words for snow do you know? The Scottish have 421 words for the cold, fluffy stuff. Some of them are feefle, spitters, and snawpouther. Now I want to watch the Scottish TV weatherman. I'll bet that's entertaining. The skin of a polar bear is actually black, but because its fur is clear, that's right, it ain't white, and the strands are hollow, they scatter light. This creates the illusion that it's white, like feefle. Just like our fingers, our tongue has its own unique print. We also have around 10,000 taste buds, and each of them has an average lifespan of 10 days. I'm tasting a pattern here. In the English language, if you spelled out all the numbers, you'd have to count up to 1,000 before you came across the letter A. Try it. In 1815, Indonesia's Mount Tambora had the biggest volcanic eruption in human history. It lasted 2 weeks. It created an ash layer in our planet's atmosphere, and 1816 became the year without a summer. A day wasn't always 24 hours. 4.5 billion years ago, it was only 4 hours. That was because the moon was